Lessons and Leelas from Caitanya Bhagavata by Vrindavan Das Thakur, Chapter 9, Antyakanda Part 2. We're continuing the story of Siddha Vaisnava Vishama Vyavahara, which is a repeated phrase in the story, which is depicting the unique and exalted and amazing character of the Vaishnava, the pure devotee of the Lord, in this case Bhrigu. Although it seems that the stars of the Leela are actually Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva, who were debated upon by the sages who is actually supreme in this universe. And they delegated Bhrigu to go around the universe and test each one. Priksha, it's called Priksha, Shiva Priksha, Vishnu Priksha, and Mahesh Priksha. And now he's already approached Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma in the story, and they failed the test. They both became angry. They both wanted to kill him, but they were restrained by the sages in one case and by the wife in another case. Now he's going to test Lord Vishnu, and this is where the story continues. It's a really, beautiful story. This Caitanya Bhagavata. Antyakanda Part 2, Chapter 9, the story of Bhrigu, the exalted character of Bhrigu, the pure Vaishnava. Very deep story. Shri Ratna Kataya Prabhu Achena Shayan Lakshmi Seva Karite Achena Shri Charan. Lord Vishnu is lying on a jewel or gem bedecked bed with Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, his wife, lovingly massaging his lotus feet. Hine samaye Bhrigu asi alakshite paravatta karilena prabhura vakshete. At that time, Bhrigu came there as if out of nowhere, or unnoticed, and kicked the Lord's chest with his foot. Bhrigu deki Mahaprabhu sambrame uttiya namaskari lena Prabhu mahapritahaya. Upon seeing the great sage Bhrigu, the Manasaputra of Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu immediately got up from his bed and affectionately offers respects with folded hands. Lakshmina Sahite Prabhu Bhrigura Charan Santoshe Karite Lagi Lena Prakshalan. Lord Vishnu and his wife Lakshmi very happily washed the feet of Bhrigu. Santosh Karite Lagi Lena, they held his feet and they bathed them. Vasite di Lenani Uttama Asana Shrihaste Tahana Ange Lepena Chandan. After offering Bhrigu an excellent and exalted sitting place, Lord Vishnu personally with his own hands smeared the body of Bhrigu with sandalwood pulp as an honorary greeting, which gives great pleasure by the fragrance and by the cooling contact, what to speak of the loving hand of the Lord touching one's body. Ambarish Maharaj, the 9th canto of Bhagavatam, he describes the perfection of our indriyas, karmendriya and gyanendriya, our working senses and our knowledge acquiring senses, gyanendriya, karmendriya. And the hands, of course, are karmendriya, working senses. And we engage them in our bodily maintenance and procuring the things that we require, food, shelter, and defense. And that's basic requirements. But he engaged his hands in massaging the feet of the Vaishnavas. Foot massage. Or embracing them, whatnot. Massaging them. The perfection of sparsha. Sparsha is a very powerful sense, attraction, impulse, a vegam, a pushing, desire to touch and be touched, and desire for a variety of contacts of objects, rough, smooth, furry, moist, sticky, so many different sensations the touch sparsha can provide. And for some living entities, that very one sense of touch is their ultimate demise. The analogy is given in Puran of the Hati, the elephant, who cannot resist the desire to touch his Padmini. Padmini means his female companion, the female elephant. He touches with the hands of his trunk, because he doesn't appear to have hands as we know it. His hands are actually legs. 2 arms became 2 legs, so he's 4-legged. But his trunk is very sensitive, and he picks up the peanuts with the trunk. And he wraps his trunk around coconut trees and carries them out of the forest. And he wraps his trunk around tigers and flips them in the air, if he can get them from the front. Usually they come from behind and jump on his neck. Or he picks up, I saw once right here at Radhakund, no, it wasn't here at Radhakund, it was on Padayatra, or rather Trasikosh Prikha in 1987, Vrindavan. There was a huge elephant called Lakshmi, a female, very huge elephant accompanying the party, along with bullock carts, elephant, Gauranitai deities. And she was very gentle and loving devotee of Gauranitai. But there's one Western person from Europe, and he was rather cocky type and not very friendly towards the Brijvasis. And no one felt very comfortable with him, but everyone tolerated him because he was a member of the pioneering Priklam party, Padayatra. Trasikosh Priklam, there was 60 or so fearless pioneers on that expedition of Braj. Lokanath Swami leading the way, Dinabandhu and myself, every day, every night together, not coming and going, camping here and there. And one day we were walking along and he was there and made some whatever, and Lakshmi picked him up with her trunk and picked him up like this, about 12 feet over the ground, and went tong. And he was a very strong person, and he went down tad, and didn't get up very soon, and everyone gathered around to help him, and somehow by God's grace he recovered miraculously and was able to even walk. But he was pretty quiet for the rest of Parikrama, needless to say. So Lakshmi gave him a very fortunate teaching, and hopefully he advanced the cause of his good fortune, which is bhakti. So the trunk can touch, and so he wants to touch the female, and he gets trapped by the zookeeper and off to the zoo. So he perfected his touch by touching the devotees. So here the Lord is personally with his own transcendental hands, lepana ange, smearing the sandalwood on the transcendental form of his great devotee Brigamuni. Aparadi praya jena hayapanna aparada magiya layena tanrastan. Lord Vishnu begged forgiveness from Brigu, as if he had committed an offense. He was begging him to exonerate him or forgive him. Aparadi praya. Praya means almost. Vaishnava praya. He didn't really commit an offense. It seemed like it. Almost had the semblance of one, but it wasn't. Because an offense, because to external vision, if someone kicks the Lord, no matter who he is, even if he's wearing Urdhva Pandra Tilak and Kantimala, he's considered a crazy devotee. What kind of devotee is this? He goes up and kicks the Lord. Because there's a deity in Srirangam, 25 feet long, of Shayan Vishnu. Vishnu is lying down, and there's up from his navel, Lotus and Brahma is there, and many demigods are there. It's quite a beautiful deity, black deity, and there's 3 darshan doors, because you see his head, and then middle and feet. 25 feet long he's lying, Shayan, Rangaji, always see him. And imagine if somebody with tilak and devotee ran into the temple, went in the altar and kicked the deity. Now what would happen to him? He would either die on the spot by the chakra of the Lord, or be dragged out and beaten by the chokidars of the temple or pujaris. But in this case, so it looks like that, but here he did the same thing. He personally kicked not the Murti but the Sakshat Vishnu. But it was not an offense. the Lord did not take it as an offense, and he did not. Because there's two things involved in the offense. One thing is the heart of the offender, and the heart of the one being so-called offended. It's a heart matter, not an external matter. Vaisnava Kriya Mudra, Navajai. It's very difficult to understand the movements of the Lord and His devotee. Love itself is difficult to understand, how lovers behave or interact. Unless one is a lover or been a lover, he cannot understand if he's just observing. Oh, they're yelling. Especially in Vrindavan, your husbands and wives sometimes are yelling like anything. When you think they're about to get divorced the next day, or have a fight or something. And they yell for hours on the rooftop, and the people gather around. Then afterwards he sits down and she serves him breakfast. Because there's just some difference of opinion or something. Because the underlying exchange is bhav, prem, attachment, affection, and love. So it was like an offense. It certainly seemed like an offense. Someone kicked the Lord in the chest, in this case a devotee. But his mind was not offensive. His heart was not offensive. And just went, and the Lord was not taking it as an offense. Oh, this is my great devotee. Oh, your foot has touched my chest. Like, does the lover take it an offense if the husband puts his hand on the arm of the wife, or even gives her a slap? How are you? Oh, you slap me. Love slap. So this is a love kick. Love slap, a love kick. Nityananda kicked Shivananda. So that scene that there's the Lord kicking a devotee. And one pastime, Vishnu is kicking Vishnu. Another pastime, because Vishnu is an expansion from Balaram, is Nityananda. So now Vishnu is getting back with the devotee, Shivananda is saying. So in either case, whether the Lord kicks the devotee or the devotee kicks the Lord, it's not an offense. Because it's the basis of the relationship is prem sambandha. Bhagavan Bhakta prem sambandha. In love there are no rules. In love there's no offense. Hey, this is an offense. You have to sit out now. You can't play. You can't bat. Or whatever they call it. You're out. You bit my neck. Oh, hey. Out. Sit for a half hour. Okay. It's not like that. So there's no time out in the relationship of the Lord and His devotee. And we'll hear that also. Because if someone kicks you in the chest and you turn around and massage their feet and beg forgiveness and sit them down and feed them, obviously you didn't feel offended. Just like the analogy I gave, the husband, Vijayavati husband and wife, okay, please, here, Bhati, here's your chach, here's your roti. Oh, thank you. Oh, would you bring my tiffin to the fields? Yes. What do you want? Yes. Then 2 hours later she brings a tiffin to the fields. Now who can understand? You're standing on your roof and chanting and looking out across the field on another roof. And what's going on? And then, like they look at each other right in the nose, like this, and then people gather around and they gather on the wife's side. Yeah, you just said that. This is quite a scene, a village prem kalaha. The village arguments are like the fighting of goats. Prabhupada makes an analogy like the fighting of goats. It comes to no result. If you're not from the country, you wouldn't know if you grew up in Model Town. You have no idea about the fighting of goats. They look, the two raise up and go. One guy raises up with his head and he goes down and you go boom, 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 and they go okay. He walks away. That's the fighting. The guy stands up and lifts his front legs and puts his head down. And they go tap. And then they walk away. Well, when bulls fight, then the bulls can fight like serious and throw the other guy down, or they can get, I don't know if they kill each other, but they get pretty violent. So the Lord, He did not take it wasn't really an offense. Tomara Shubha Vijay Amina Janina Aparada Karijache Shama Moreya. Then now the so-called offended one, the aparadi priya, the seeming aparadi, was Brigu, and the one who was the object of that aparad, Lord Vishnu, is now replying to, after being so-called offended, and he wasn't offended, which we'll hear, kindly forgive me for my transgression of etiquette. I was unaware of your arrival, and please forgive me for not receiving you properly. I beg you to forgive me and pardon me. Eje tamara padodaka punya jal tirtere karaya tirta hena sunirmal. O Briguji, the water that washes your feet is so pure that it can even purify the places of pilgrimage. Tirtha hena. Punya jala. Odaka means water. The water from your holy feet. Punya jal, it's not just punya, but so punya that it's more than a tirtha. Because he bathed his feet. Jateke brahmanda vaise amara dekhete Jataloka palasava amara sahite Parodakka diyaji karila pavitra Akshaya haya rahu tamara charitra Ejeto mara shricha nachina dhuli Vakshera kilanami haye kuttuhali. All the universes are situated within my body, Lord Briguji, as well as the rulers of all the planets, and all of us, myself, Rama, Shiva, Indra, Chandra, Varun, Yama, all 33 crores of demigods and the koti brahmandas that are all residing in my Virata Rup, my universal body, all of them have become purified today by the touch of your feet. The water that has washed your feet. Therefore your characteristics remain imperishable. Your charitra. Charitra means vyavahara. Sira Vaishnava Vishama Vyavahara. So even Lord Vishnu is declaring the unique position of the Vaishnava Charitra. How exalted, how extraordinary. More extraordinary than 33 crores of demigods. Acharya mam vijanayan mama navamanyate karichit. Sarvadeva maya guru. Sarvadeva maya guru. In the Guru, Sarvadeva maya. Sarvadeva maya, all the energy, all the power, all the potencies, all the prabhav influence of Sarvadeva maya guru. In the Guru is all the same thing Lord Vishnu is saying. Lord Krishna is telling Uddhav Gita in 11th Canto Bhagavatam. Hey Uddhav, Acharya mam vijanayan navamanyate karichit. He's not a man of this world, he's the Sakshat Hari. And he's a sum total of all the demigods. And now Lord Vishnu is saying the same thing. Glorifying Bhrigu Muni. I will gladly, O Briguji, I will gladly keep the imprint of the dust of your foot on my chest. Lakshmi sange nija vakshe divami stan videjena shivatsa lanchana balinam. O Bhrigu, I will keep the mark of your footprint on my chest in the same place where my beloved wife Lakshmi is seated. Her residence, Lakshmi Devi's residence on my chest is glorified in the Vedas. That particular mark on my chest is called Shivats Lanchana, which means one who is marked with the sign of Shivats, the golden line on the chest, indicating the presence of his eternal beloved, Nitya Priya. Shuniya Prabhura Vakye Vinaya Vyavahar Kam Kro Lova Moha Sakalara Par. Hearing Lord Vishnu's words and seeing his extremely humble behavior, Vinaya Vyavahar, Bhrigu Muni concluded that yes, it's not Mahesh, it's not Brahma. Indeed, certainly it's Lord Vishnu. He is alone, is beyond the influence of the. He's gunatit. He's transcended the gunas. He's gunatit. He is beyond lust, anger, greed, illusion, because this represents lust, anger, greed, illusion represents tamagun, rajagun, all these things, sattvagun. He's beyond. Deki Maharishi Pahilena Chamatkar Lajita Hayamat Natolena Ar. Bhrigu was struck with wonder, and he lowered his head in shyness and shame. Bhrigu Yaha Karilena se Tahana Karmanai Aveshara Karma Iha Janiya Nishchai. Now Bhagavan Thakur is giving some explanation of the story. Whatever Bhrigu Muni did was not on his own account. Rather, he acted on the inspiration of providence, under the inspiration of. Although Bhrigu, the Manasaputra of Lord Brahma, was apparently an insignificant jiva, he performed an act that appeared externally most abominable to the eyes of ordinary people, and was certainly not befitting a Vishnu Bhakta. Yet, Bhrigu Muni acted that way because he was actually a Shaktivesh avatar, an empowered incarnation, appearing for those fools who cannot understand the supreme position of Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma. Sri Shankaracharya was the empowered incarnation of Rudra. Bhrigu and Vyasadeva were empowered incarnations of Vishnu, Vishnu Shaktivesh. The sages coming in the line of Brahma were empowered incarnations of Brahma. Therefore, it is the Supreme Lord residing as the director in the hearts of all living entities, who inspires them to display various pastimes. Ishvara Sarvabhutani, Hridesh Arjuna Tishtati, Brahmayan Sarvabhutani, Yantra Hridaya Mayaya. Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Driver. He's not only driving Arjuna, he's driving everyone. Some people he's driving. Katha dekite dekite, bhakti rase punahai, bhavira nachite. Bhrigu Muni then regained his external consciousness. So his whole lila was going on in antar chit, inside the dasha. Internal consciousness. Internal consciousness means the plane of Swarup Shakti, Vishuddha Sattva. That's the plane of Spurti, the plane of Vispurti and Sakshat Darshan. Antar Dristi, Divya Dristi, divine eyes. Was it with external eyes that Arjuna saw the Viratarup Darshan? No, divine eyes. Divya Dristi. Divya Dristi means Antar Dasha, internal eyes of consciousness. Because eyes can not get big or small, only little range. But consciousness can have infinite dimensions of magnitude or infinite dimensions of finitude or magnitude. Consciousness can expand all over the universe and take in the universal form. This is Divya Dristi, not these eyes. What can you see with these eyes? You can only see your own prarabdha. Think about that. Your eyes, you can only see your own prarabdha. Bhayapai Pritishara. Oh, I said that. So now he's in external consciousness. Bhakti Rase Purnahai Lagila Nachite. Bhrigu Muni regained external consciousness, and after seeing that exhibition of the Lord's love and affection, he was filled with devotional love and began to dance. So this whole thing that happened, how was he able to do that? Because he was in a trance of divine love. That's why he said he was like a puppet in the hands of the Lord. The Lord was directing him. Because in this plane, this internal plane of priti and pyar, the Lord is the director. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhiyogam tam. Who's ever controlling your intelligence means he's controlling your mind, and he's controlling your senses. So our intelligence is controlled by kam, lust, and kam bhav. So that intelligence is filled with lust and greed and fills our mind and its senses and life. Tesham sadata yutanam vachatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogantam yena mamupiyantate. So this, when Bhagavan takes a part of your intelligence, that's when super soul agrees to become the inner guide, sleeps in the heart as Vishnu, Mahavishnu. Then when one comes to the level of Bhav, then he wakes up. the Chaitya Guru, the Guru wakes up, Chaitanya, wakes up. When he wakes up, he moves out of the heart and he goes to the intelligence. He starts guiding you. This, that, go here, go there. So that's just at the level of Bhav. So he's a Premi Bhakta, Brigamuni, and Dasirati or Vishnu. So now Vishnu is directing him to come, kick my chest. This is all Yogamaya. This is all Yogamaya. This Antardash is all Yogamaya. That's why when he came to external consciousness, so like you're in a spurti, when you're in a dream, that's swapna or turiya. I doubt it, but maybe just swapna. Then jagrata, and you come awake. Oh, what was that? What happened? Where was I? This thing. Oh, I did this. I kicked Lord Vishnu. It's like a dream. For him, it's not Yogamaya. It's Leela Maya. That's why he says Bhakti Rasa Purnahai Lagi. He said, what happened? Bhakti Ras. This is on the level of praying. Bhakti Ras, the mixture of the bhavas, the Sthairati, and then the Vibhav and the Lamban and Udipan and Anubhav and subject, and then you'll see, and then you'll hear the next thing all about all the sattvic vikars, and you'll understand the next verse. The Bhakti Rasa has to, all these things have to be, or Vyabhachari, everything, at different junctures of the flow of the Ras, and then the extent of the experience. Brigamuni regaining his external consciousness, and after seeing the exhibition of the Lord's love, after seeing, so that means the whole thing was before, he saw this. He was just being moved. Love moves the players, and love itself moves. Prem moves Radha and Krishna, and Prem itself moves. Prem makes Radha dance. Radhikara Prema Guru Ami Shishyanat. Krishna is telling, Radhika is my Prem Guru. Ami Shishyanat. I'm learning dance from her. She's my Prem Guru. Radhikara Prema Guru. She's my Prem Guru. She's making, Radha's Prem is making me nach. That's what he's saying. Prem is making me dance. It's not the Veena that's making me dance, but every single note that Radharani's playing on the Veena and the Rasa dance is full of her Prem. I love you, 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 I love you. And Krishna is dancing in the Ras. And she's teaching him. Her Prem is teaching him to dance. But he couldn't learn all the dances. He couldn't learn. So he had to come again as Lord Chaitanya. Then he learned how to dance. Krishna is dancing, but he's holding onto the flute. You can't dance, can't fully dance by holding onto the flute. You have to do all the proper balance. He's dancing like this. Because he never lets go of the flute. So he had more lessons to learn. So when he came as Lord Chaitanya, he put the flute he put the flute down, it became Mridanga. And then he could dance so beautifully with his hands and mudras and like this. And understand the extent, learn all the full lessons of his Radhikara Prema Guru. Jai Gaur Haribo, Gauranga Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Rasaraj Mahavav, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Gaur Haribo, Gaur Haribo, Gaur Haribo. So when he realized, when he tasted, when you taste Madira. Madira means liquor, Madira. When you taste Madira with something, you start dancing. So Bhakti Rasa Purne Hai Lagila Nachete. After seeing the Lord's exhibition of love and affection, and he realized, what did I just experience? I was enraptured by the love of my Lord Vishnu. My Dasya Rati has been accelerated to the umpteenth percentage. Such nectar I was tasting at that time. Bhakti Rasa Purna was completely inundating my entire being. I couldn't contain it within this frame of my body, and it just went out, my arms and legs, and I started nach. I began to dance. Hasya Kampa Gharma Murcha Pulaka Hunkar Bhakti Rasa Magna Haila Brahmara Hunkar Kumar. As a Kumar, that Brahma Kumaris, Brahma Kumar, it means a young, Kumar means boy, Krishna Kumar. That son that that childlike son, that he's childlike, he's a Kumar because of the innocence of love, because of the purity of heart, and the sensitivity of his mind. He became absorbed in devotional sentiments, the bhakti ras. He was tasting, and then so as those bhakti rasas were expanding more and more, as he kept absorbing himself more and more in the vibhavalambana, the prem vishaya of Vishnu. Oh, he loved me so much. And then it was tasting that, then he started, all these involuntary symptoms overcame his body. He was laughing, he was shivering, perspiring, he fainted, he stood up, his hair stood on end, he was shouting loudly, Sabha Ishvara Krishna Sabha Jivan Hey Satya Bali Nache Brahmaranandan. This is what now the author himself was in his own samadhi of writing this Leela and seeing this Leela, Vrindavan Thakur. He's himself recapping what Bhrigu Muni uttered in his ecstasies, his hunkar. He said that he was hunkar, loudly roaring. He said, Krishna, Krishna, so Ishvara Krishna. Krishna said, Lord, and the life of all. And Brahma, Anandan, Brahma Kumar, the son of Brahma, he was dancing, he was declaring this truth. Satyabali, Satyabali, listen, hey, listen. It's like testifying, some Christians or something. I testify, I saw the light, I saw the light. I saw the Jesus. Like these things. So he's like saying, Krishna's the Lord, he's the Lord, in his life for all. Krishna, believe it, brothers, it's the truth. The septic vikaras or transcendental transformations, the ecstatic emotional symptoms displayed in the body of Bhrigu Muni indicated the presence of exalted levels of prema. Bhrigu displayed compassion on all the sages by singing the following supreme truth. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Aradi Adi Govinda Sarva Karana Kalam. Krishna Govinda is the cause of all causes. He is the primal cause and he is the very form of eternity, knowledge and bliss. Dekhiye Krishna Santa Vinaya Vyavahar Prema Bhakti Jai Kotav Na Sambhave Ar. After observing the humble and peaceful behavior of Lord Vishnu, Bhrigu Muni concluded that such love and devotion was not possible anywhere else in the universe. Bhakti jhara hoila bhakya na aise vadane anandhashru dhara matra vahe shrinayan. Bhrigu Muni's eyes became filled with tears of ecstasy. Ashrudhara matra vahe shrinayan. His shrinayan, his beautiful lotus eyes of that great exalted sage. Imagine if you're the son of Brahma, you must look pretty good. He's created. If we're enamored by some movie star from Hollywood or Bollywood, what to speak of, and they're just a figment of a spark 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 of the creation of Brahma. What to speak of the sun that's created from his mind? Because if you could create a wife from your mind, it might be something to your liking. So if you're going to create from your mind, it's going to be the perfect conception of whatever you can imagine or think or conceive. His eyes were filled with tears of ecstasy. He became stunned with devotion, unable to speak. Jada, bhakti jada haila, that the bhakti made him turn. Bhakti can melt stones, and bhakti can make a moving thing turn like a jada stone, jada roop. Sarvabhava Ishvara Deya Samalpya Punamuni Sabamadye Milila Asya. Bhrigu Muni fully surrendered himself to the Lord. Sarvabhava Ishvara Samarpya. Samarpan. Mandandan Krishna Samarpan. Sarvabhava Ishvara. All his feelings, all his love, all his emotions, everything within his entire heart, he surrendered to the body of the Lord. Then Punamuni Sabha Madhya, he went to the Raja Sabha, the Vaishnava Raja Sabha. He returned to the Sabha, the assembly of all those great sages who had dispatched him on that mission to discover who was the supreme in the universe, Mahesh, Shiva, or Brahma. Brigu dekhi sabe hoila ananda apar. Kaha Brigu? Karakon dekhi vyavahara. Seeing Brigu, everyone became joyful. Ananda apar, unimaginable bliss, ineffable bliss they experienced upon. Acha Brigu, you've come back. Kaha Brigu. Welcome. Swagatam. Are you fine? Are you well? What have you seen? Please. What is the news? Tell us. What vyavahar, what behavior, conduct did you see? What did you discover? Well, this will have to continue this another part because the battery's there. The sages said, "Oh, Brigamuni, we will accept whatever you say as conclusive." Sabala Praman. What is the Praman? What is the actual Praman that you concluded? We accept you. We won't argue. There won't be any tarka. There won't be any arguing here. We accept. We delegated you because we already exalted. We already knew your exalted position. We recognized you as most exalted amongst us. So now, please, what is the result? It's not a point of debate anymore. It's simply a point of acceptance, whatever you've discovered or found. Then Brigamuni described all of his experiences. Brahma Vishnu Maheshwara Tina Vyavahar Sakala Kahilena Sar. Brigamuni explained in detail the characteristics of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, then spoke the following words in conclusion. Sarva Shrestha Shiva Kunta Nata Narayan Satya Barilavachan. Brigamuni said, O Rishis, O Munis, listen. Narayan, Vaikuntanath, the Lord of Vaikuntha, He is the greatest of all. This is the truth and nothing but the truth. Sabar Ishvara Krishna Janaka Sabar Brahma Shiva Karina Janharadikar. Krishna is the controller and father of all. Even Brahma and Shiva work under his direction. Karta Harta Rakshita Sabar Narayan Nishsande Bhajak Gya Tanhara Charan. Lord Narayan is the doer, creator, and protector. Therefore, one should worship his lotus feet without a doubt. Yes? Dham, Gyan, Punyakirti, Aishwarya, Virakti, Atma Shreshta Madhyama, Janhara Jatra Shakti, Sakala Krishnari Ha Janiya Nishchay, Hate Ragao Bhaja Krishnara Vijay. Sages, Munis, Rishis, Vaishnavis, know for certain that Dham, religiosity, knowledge, Gyan, pious activities, opulence, Aishwarya, and Vairag, Virakti, and renunciation, as well as one's exalted position in society, and all influence actually originate from Krishna's to Bhagavan Swayam. Therefore, sing the glories of Krishna and worship him. Jai Ho! Jai Ho! Jai Ho! Jai Ho! Brigamuni ki Jai! Jai Ho! Say Krishna Sakshat Caitanya Bhagavan Kirtana Vihare Hai Yachena Vidyaman. Krishna Chaitanya is that same Bhagavan Sri Krishna, and Gauranga appeared in this world to relish his Sankirtan Vilas. Brigura Bachanav Shuni Savarishigan Nisandeha Haila Sava Shreshta Narayan. After hearing Brigamuni's conclusive statement of Praman with great attention, All the Rishi Munis became free from doubt and concluded, yes, certainly Narayan, Sarvashreshta, he is the greatest of all. Bhigare Pujiya Bale Sabarishigam Samshaya Chindya Tumi Bala Kailaman. The sages then offered worship. They worshipped that great Rishi, Manasaputra Bhrigu, Brahma Manasaputra Bhriguji. They offered artik, they did puja and worshipped him. And they said, "Oh Muni, Maharaj, you have so kindly and mercifully removed all our doubts, and now our minds are very peaceful." Obviously, when doubts are in the mind, then the mind is chinta, disturbed. So when one is doubt-free, then he's carefree. Then he's set free. Krishna Bhakti Sabalailena Dhridaman Bhakti Rupe Brahma Shiva Pujena Jatan. All those great sages then accepted Krishna Bhakti with determination. Dhridaman. This is very nice progress here. Question, doubt. Question, research, observation, authority, submission to authority, acceptance of authority, surrender, doubts removed, then determination to serve Krishna. Same thing with the sages. They had doubts they could not resolve on their own. Amongst all of them, they found the senior one. "Please, can you resolve our doubts?" He said, "Let me go directly. I can just tell you, but you may not have faith. Let me go and tell you. I can tell you Praman, but I should back it with Leela. Then the Praman becomes much more digestible, understandable." He could just say, "I already know. Vishnu is supreme." Obviously he knows. He's a Vishnu Bhakt. Bhaktiman avijanati yavanyashtasmi tattvadam. The Bhagavan Tattva is only known by the Bhakta. Ram Bhakta, Vishnu Bhakta, Krishna Bhakta. But just to ease their mind, he said, "Look, I'll do something." If you do something, people think you're worth your money. You just sit there and say, "Yes, no." You're not doing anything. So he traveled around, and this is what I found. And if somebody doesn't believe him, "Okay, you go." Then if they go and kick the chest of Vishnu, I don't know what's going to happen, because they're not maybe so much accepted by Vishnu. Then when they even go to try, then Jai and Vijay may bop them out. So they accepted. And then they, Dhridaman, their minds became very determined. Bhakti Rupe Bhakti Shiva Pujena Jatan. They faithfully worship Brahman Shiva with the understanding that they are devotees. So everything properly adjusted. Okay, all these three, we thought they were all the Lord, they're all Ishvara, they're all the Supreme. No, actually there's one Supreme and all others are devotees. Ekale Ishvara Krishna Arasabhibhritya. Ishvara Parama Krishna Arasabhibhritya. So Krishna, Vishnu is Supreme in the universe, and Brahma, Shiva, and all the 33 crores of demigods are all worshipping. Siddha Vaishnava Yena Vishana Vyavahar. This is the third time in this story this phrase is mentioned. Kayulana Iha Bhuji Bhade Shaktikar. I, Vrindavan Das Thakur, thus explained the extraordinary characteristic of the perfect Vaishnava. Who can understand this? So, what's the answer? Someone who's a perfect Vaishnava. This is the Leela, the Siddha Vaishnava Vyavahara Leela, or the exalted character of the Bhrigu Muni. Parikshite karma kina chila kichuar taralagi karilena charana prahar. Vrindavan Das Thakur asked a question that on behalf of the reader, as some reader may wonder why it had to go, isn't there, the reader might say, after hearing this pastime from chapter 89 of the 10th canto, which is also recounted there and here in chapter 9, isn't there any other way? Isn't there another way he could have done it? Like a teacher may subject you to a test of nerves or a test of strength or whatever, and you think, couldn't you have done this some other way? You have to test me this way? Was there no other way for Bhrigu to test the Lord than kicking him with his feet? The more sensitive and loving and concerned devotee said, "Did you have to go that extent to prove that Krishna is supreme? You got to give him a taekwondo to the chest? Couldn't you have some arm wrestling competition, or go with Brahma and try him out, and then finally get to Vishnu? Yeah, Vishnu defeated me, but the other two couldn't, so he's God." I mean, whatever. Shristi karta Bhrigu deva yana anugrahe ki sahase chanana dilena seridaye. Vrindavan Thakur says, it was by the mercy of the Supreme Creator Vishnu that Bhrigu had the audacity to kick the Lord in his chest. So he got that Shristikarta Bhrigu Deva. And Bhrigu Deva, he got that anugraha, he got that mercy from the Lord that he was able to do that. To get someone, how could he do that? But the Lord empowered him. That was the Shakti of Aish. It's one of the Lord's Shaktis, Anugraha Shakti. It's described in Madhurya Kanamani as Anugraha Shakti. That's in the discussion of prema. Abodhya Gamya Adi Kariya Vyavahar Iha Bai Siddhanta Naha Deki Kichuar. The behavior of an exalted personality is incomprehensible. The Adhikar. And unfathomable. I do not see any other conclusion in this. So, Vedavyas, Vrindavan Thakur, he's saying that I don't really understand it. Exalted personality is very difficult to understand how they move or behave. Mule Krishna. So now there's just more discussion about this whole thing. That was the story, and the conclusion within the story. Then he's drawing out more conclusions for the Vaishnavas to understand more about Bhakti Tattva and Sadhana Tattva, how to more properly execute sadhana, especially understand how to deal with devotees. Mule Krishna Pravishya Bhrigura Dehete Karaila Bhaktira Mahima Prakashite. Lord Krishna entered the body of Bhrigu Muni and caused this incident to take place for the purpose of broadcasting the glories of Bhakti. Bhakti Mahima Prakash. Bhakti Mahima Prakash. So he used Bhrigu Muni to glorify Bhakti. So the Lord entered his body and induced him to act in that way, to manifest the glories. Otherwise, Bhrigu Muni would not have dared even think of acting in such a way if he was conscious of proper etiquette. So obviously he was in Yoga Maya. So in Yoga Maya, Mother Yashoda can chase God with a stick and tie him up. I'll beat you. Yoga Maya can pour under the influence of Yoga Maya after the Brahmanda Leela, where Krishna ate the clay and Brahmanda got in Yamuna, and the boys tattled on him, and then his mother came and then she purified him by pouring cow urine over his head, giving an abhishek, panchagavi abhishek with cow urine and gobar and mutra and dahi and all these things. And if someone said, this is God, I think she would be hesitant to pour cow dung over his head. But Yoga Maya inspired her to undergo those purificatory rites, assuming that he was haunted by a ghost or some bhoot or pishacha had captured him, made him act so crazy to eat clay instead of rasgullas. You definitely must be ghostly haunted if you pass up a rasgulla and eat a piece of clay. Jnanapura Bhrigura Ekama Kavunai Krishna Bharajena Adi Kari Bhakti Jai. Bhrigu Muni could never perform such an act knowingly, but Krishna wanted to increase the glories of his pure devotee. It's hard to understand. He's such a pure devotee, he's kicking the Lord. Some guy, he comes up with his wife, bam! Hey, gives her a heavy crack. Oh, you don't know how much I love her. That was an expression of my intense love. His teeth are knocked out. Who can understand it? It's not a very good analogy, but it doesn't appear like an expression of love to kick your beloved on the chest. In this case, the Lord. Virinchi Shankara Badite Krishna Jai Brigore Kaila Kruda Dekariya Bhai. Brahma and Shankar, Virinchi is Brahma, and Shankar displayed anger and threatened Brigamuni to increase the glories of Krishna. So even they acted in that way, so then Krishna could look they became angry, so his opposite reaction was looked even more glorious. Bhakta Sabayena Gai, Nitya Krishna Jai, Krishna Bhara Jaina Bhakta Jaya Atishai. As the devotees always sing the glories of Krishna, Nitya Krishna Jaya, Gaya Nitya Krishna Jaya, Gaya Nitya Krishna Jaya, Gaya Nitya, always Nitya Gaya, Nitya Gita. The Bhakta Sabha, all the devotees are always eternally glorifying the Lord. Krishna increases the glories of his devotees. Bhakti Jaya Atishoy, Bhakti Joy Atishoy. Hari Kari Vaishnavera, Nabuji Vyavahar, Se Jana Nindaye, Tara Nahika Nistar. If anyone criticizes an exalted Vaishnava without understanding his behavior, he can never be delivered. Nahika Nistar. Nistar means delivered. It's a little dangerous when someone is linked with the Lord to pass judgment. Adama Janera Jaya Charayena Dharma Adi Kari Vaishnavaya Kari Sekam. Sometimes an exalted Vaishnava exhibits the same behavior and characteristics as a materialistic person. Krishna Kripaye se iha jani bari pare he sava sankate keha mare keha tari keha mare keha tari keha mare keha tari iha jani bari pare iha jani bari pare keha mare keha tari. And Bengali is also very, very nice. Iha jani bari pare keha mare keha tari. The conclusion is that only by the mercy of Krishna can one understand the great Vaishnava. Krishna Kripaye Jani Bari Pari. Otherwise, in such intricate situations, one may either be liberated or destroyed. If you understand and you worship, you're liberated. If you don't understand and you criticize, you're destroyed. It's a razor's edge. If you use it nicely, carefully, you cut your beard. If you use it spaced out, you cut your chin. One who is not favored by Lord Sri Krishna may bring about his own ruination by seeing superficially the characteristics of a devotee. Whereas another person may remain aloof from offense by not committing them. Let me worry. The pure devotee is always within the core of my heart. This is Saravaridiyam mayam sadunam ridiyam tvaham maranyate najananti nahamte bhyomanagapi. The pure devotee is always within the core of my heart. You should understand this, Durvasaji, said Vishnu. I am always in the heart of my pure devotee, like Ambarish. My devotees, like Ambarish, they do not know anything else but me, Durvasa. Do you know that? I don't know anyone else but them. Do you understand that? Now go, return, and offer your dandavats to my great devotee Ambarish and beg forgiveness. Your offense is lying there at his feet in the dust, and my Sudarshan will follow you there. And when you've done this, then he will return to my finger. Sabai te deki eka mahapratikar sabare kariba stuti vinaya vyavahar. Ha ha ha, Vrindavan Das Thakur says. But I have found a wonderful solution to this problem. One should always respect all, serve all, and love all. I have found a wonderful solution. Mahapratikar. Deki sabe dekite sabayite deki eka mahapratikar. One should always glorify and behave humbly with each and every one. Now these are the how to avoid offenses. Because if you do the opposite of this, it's offense. One who greets the devotee of Vishnu and joyfully offers him obeisances, just as one offers obeisances to Vasudeva Sri Krishna, is considered a devotee of the Supreme Lord and able to purify the three worlds. If a person who, even after hearing harsh words from a devotee, remains tolerant and then offers that devotee obeisances and converses with that devotee, then there's no doubt that that proves that he is a Vaisnava. Agyahai layibeka Krishnara Sharan Savadane Shunibeke Mahanta Vachan. Thinking oneself a fool, Agya, one should surrender to Krishna and carefully listen to the words of advanced devotees. Mahant Vachan, Mahant, the Vachan of the Mahants, the great devotees. Tabe Krishna Tare Dena, Hena Divya Mati, Sarvachanistarapai, Natekaye Kati. Then if someone thinks of himself a fool, Ami Morkehe, Kiyami Tapatrai, Ami Morkehe, I Mahab, O Goranga Mahaprabhu, O Gaurasundar, Ami Morkehe, Kiyami Tapatrai. I am a fool. Why am I suffering these threefold miseries? I surrender to you. Then, if someone has that mood, then Krishna will impart, he'll give him Divyamati, he'll give him transcendental discrimination. Yes, this is correct. I understand this, I understand that. By which one can completely be delivered without any sarvanistarapai, not tekei kati. No kati, teke kati, no difficulty. Bhakti Kareje Shuni Caitanya Avatar Say Sabajana Sukhe Pahibanista Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Chanda Jan Vrindavana Dasa Tachu Parajugegan. Ramdas Thakur gives the Shruti follows the benedictory verse at the conclusion of chapter 9 of Antya-khanda, part 2, verse 393. Whoever listens to the activities, all the bhaktas who listen to the with devotion of Lord Chaitanya, the activities of Chaitanya Avatar with devotion, will easily be freed from material bondage. Because he's been talking about this theme of Nistar. If you offend the devotees, there's no Nistar. If you surrender to Krishna, there's Nistar. If you hear the Leelas of Krishna, there's Nistar. And if you chant, there's one verse about chanting the holy name, Nistar. Sarva Jagat Nistar, it ends like that. Do you know that verse? Glorification, Bengali verse. Something, Sarva Jagat Nistar. Can deliver the whole universe. Kali Yuga Yuga Dharma, something like this, Jagat Nistar. Accepting Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Prabhu as my life, and so I, Vrindavan Das Thakur, sing the glories of the lotus feet. Thus concludes the Siddha Vaishnava Vyavahara Leela, the great exalted glories of Brigamuni and this great Vaishnava, and the